When an elder leaves wisdom at home, he will be counted among the fools in the street. My friends and brothers, Africa is the oldest civilization on earth. When did we start to leave wisdom at home so that we could go and argue in the streets and be counted with the fools, engaging in their foolish and futile debates? Our friends at Tunacheki released a video the other day about how the French government wants to return African artifacts stolen from Africa during colonialism, but they want to return them on their own terms. No surprises there. My name is Chioma Phillips, and this is Msingi Africa Television. So, when did Africa start leaving wisdom at home to go and argue in the streets with small boys and girls who don't know anything about history or value culture? Did you know that the oldest civilization on earth is the African civilization? Did you know that the first university in the world is from Africa? Did you know that the most serious astrologers are the Dogon people from Mali? Well, they currently reside in Mali. Did you know that our architectural exploits, such as street lighting and that wall that we built in the Benin Kingdom, are to this day noteworthy historical monuments? Did you know that in Uganda we were performing C-sections and we actually taught Western doctors and practitioners how to do it? So when did we pack away all of this wisdom, all of this knowledge, all of this understanding, and start to pursue information from the West, chasing after them, acting as if that they are superior to us? In the video that was shared by Tunacheki, they talk about how the French want to return our artifacts. It's like these great people have now decided that they want, they're giving us permission to have our things back. Isn't that ridiculous? How can a thief give you permission to have your things back? Isn't that ridiculous? The arrogance of these people. I think it was the British, I'm not very sure, who said that our artifacts are best placed in their own museums because, they're better placed to be able to show them and showcase them to the world. Our things. The thief is telling you what he's going to do with your stuff, and he's telling you you have no choice. So yes, they came. They came and they stole from us. They stole our cultural artifacts, yes. They went into remote locations and they found some of the most important pieces that communities had, that communities were using to galvanize their communal sense of belonging and fellowship and brotherhood. And they identified these items and they stole them. They stole them in broad daylight. They stole them and then made it look like they were doing us a favor because they had come to civilize us and save us from those things. But in actual fact, it was a really, really brilliant military strategy. Because if you can scatter a community by destroying the things that actually hold the people together, then, you can go and play and wreak havoc in their societies as much as you want. And it worked. Because African society actually started to crumble and to break down because the cultural artifacts and elements that they used to join together in fellowship and mutual cooperation and collaboration started to be removed from them. When you remove something that is central to a community, it starts to break down. So it did work. And so now they're scattered across the world in different museums and different stores, and who knows what state they're in, really. And there is a shout in the heart of Africans to have these things returned. And we can understand that. There is even a gentleman who's going to different museums, liberating our stolen items from these museums. He's getting himself into trouble because he's taking back what the thieves took from us, but now they're calling him a thief, which is another irony. I mean, a thief takes from you, you go to him and you say, that's mine, and he says to you, yes, I know, it's yours. So you say, I'm taking it back, then now you get into trouble because you're reclaiming your property. There is a madness in this world that is of a special nature. But that aside, even if, and we understand it, but even if we get these things back, what they set out to do by taking them away, to break down what we had then, actually worked. And what will happen is that these items may come and they may generate a sense of pride among the people who understand what those things signified. But beyond that, I believe that they will end up in museums and they will gather dust and they will soon be forgotten, because whatever power to galvanize social cohesion that they had has actually long gone. So what am I saying? Well, what I'm saying is that the things that we actually need returned are not necessarily these artifacts. They may have their use in bringing them back, not as some kind of grand gesture by the robbers who came and took over by force and then stole from us and then now are trying to be benefactors in returning them, because that's just one big fat fraud. Not from that perspective. They may be useful in people having some kind of restored sense of hope or identity or community to some tiny extent. But the real thing that we need, and it's not reparations, because reparations, if we get reparations for building up all those European economies and building up whatever other economies we've built up like the US and any other place, when that money comes, if the people who are in power are the same ones who have been stealing from us day and night, behind our backs or in front of our faces, are still in power, then that reparation story will become somebody's building project or Swiss bank account or other sad situation that's just going to cause us anger. I don't think that that is really what we ought to be pursuing as a people. Yes, we built up their economies. Yes, they were ungrateful. Yes, they continue to exploit us. We know all those things. What we actually need returned to us from the ancient days would be our books, our writings that were snatched up from Egypt and from different parts of Africa and taken and hidden away, because those do contain wisdom, ancient wisdom that would be useful in helping us retrace our steps back to who we were. They would help remind our people that we are literate and that we came from a great race of people. That would be helpful and powerful. But you know what our secret weapon is, our most powerful tool? Is every single man, woman, and child who lives in a country outside of Africa, who has been working there and studying there and building up economies there. Because you have the tools, the wisdom, the knowledge that Africa needs right now in order to get up on her feet. We're talking about neurosurgeons, we're talking about space scientists, we're talking about architects, we're talking about people who have been studying cultures and societies, who have studied the cultures and societies around them. We're talking about doctors, yes. We're talking about teachers. We're talking about people who have gathered wisdom unto themselves. Maybe they've even lived in those countries like Britain or like the US or wherever they may be, Australia, Russia, China, Japan, who have been living there and working there and gathering tools essential for Africa's growth right now. You are the ones that Africa needs now. And you might be feeling a certain calling to come back home. I can tell you that Mother Africa is yearning for her sons and daughters to come home and to restore whatever has been devastated, in tandem with the sons and daughters who are still on the continent. We need to help each other, move together and work together in order to create something that the world would never have imagined possible for us to do. And it's something that no one can do by themselves. It definitely is. So it is you, watching from wherever you're watching, wondering what it is that you can do to change the situation in Africa, wondering if Africa is ever going to achieve her potential. It is you who is living in the diaspora, you who we need. It is you who is the answer. It is you who needs to return. You've been used over the last decades to build up and to strengthen the economies that are actually oppressing Africa. We need what you have and what you know and your tools and your strength to come now and build what will strengthen Africa, not for purposes of going back and oppressing the oppressor or attacking the attacker. We don't have time for that. It is for the purposes of building up a beautiful, strong African continent in reality on the ground, taking advantage of the opportunities that are being presented to us by the existence and the commencement of trade in the African Continental Free Trade Area. It is you and us working together side by side, hand in hand, overcoming our differences and making sure that we have a common vision to make sure that Africa gets to where she ought to be. One thing that we've actually created that you can join in on conversations and, bring information and tools to is a Facebook group called the African Online Trade Route. We created that group in order to try and bring people together from the northwest, east and south of this great continent of Africa and wherever our African sons and daughters are in the world, so that we can start to share who is creating what, who is manufacturing, who is a service provider, who has solutions, who has ideas, who has questions, and start to change the conversation on the ground. Because in truth, the only way that the African Continental Free Trade Area is going to come alive is if we actually do something about it, and if we create the pressure necessary for governments to yield to our needs because of the strength of our community. So, the link to the group is in the description below this video, or you can search for it online. Find us, join the group, tell us what you're doing, share your information, tell us who you need, what solutions you need. We have people who are in design, we have people who are in real estate, we have people who are in mental health and wellness, we have people who are in community work, service to mothers and children. We have people, a diverse range of creators and manufacturers and people with such amazing potential already in that group, waiting to connect. We can do this the way that they used to do in the ancient days, when our ancestors roamed the continent of Africa, trading with one another, interacting with one another, settling in new areas. While the African government's immigration processes and policies catch up with us, we will interact with each other borderlessly online. And when they catch up with us, we will interact with one another on the ground, face to face, like brothers and sisters, like we are. So let's do this. Let's build up the Africa that we know that she can be. Why do I believe so strongly in the potential of Africa? Because I know people like my husband, I know myself, and the few people who have reached out to us personally, we have interacted with, whose ideas we have heard, whose potential we have seen, whose creations we are aware of. I know that we have what it takes to transform this Africa, to take her to greater heights than she has ever been before. Will you join the journey? Thank you for watching. It's a pleasure having you. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, ring that bell so that you can get notifications of new videos, and find our magazine. We've got a bunch of links in the description below this video where you can track content that we've shared before. And think about it. Get in touch if you have any questions. If you'd like to talk about what it takes to move, we will find you answers and solutions. Remember, we have a store called Rudo, the African Collection. It's our merchandise where we are trying to raise the African identity and profile. It's an online store on Teespring. We are also still working on getting local partners in Africa to be able to produce this merchandise. Buy the merchandise for yourself, for your friends, and wear the African identity proudly wherever you may go. It's time for us to change the way we feel about Africa and to show people that the Africa that we know and that we want is beautiful and strong. You can wear these pieces proudly and proclaim the beauty, strength, power, and might of Africa and the African people. Thanks again for your time. We really appreciate you. Take care and see you next time.
Remember to also leave your suggestions on topics that you'd like us to cover in the comments below.